using straw men, using shell companies, placing assets with related parties or seemingly unrelated parties, shipping them to, in the case of financial assets, shipping them to tax haven countries where extradition or attachment of assets is very challenging. A fraudster, call him John Smith, just embezzles $1 million. He could then place it into a shell company, and the shell company could have a number of meaningless subsidiaries, moving it around between subsidiaries, moving it to vendors and to non-existent customers. The creativity is tremendous, and the difficulty just multiplies with the number of different entities that the funds transfer through. Moving assets overseas just escalates the challenge because you have, even if it's a friendly company, an EU country, where we have good relationships and there are treaties and so on, the privacy laws overseas are much different and far more stringent. Then taking it a step further, if you move it to, say, the Jersey or Channel Islands or Isle of Man or to the Caymans, that just makes it even more challenging. I'm familiar with pulling assets from the UK islands. When you get to some of the very stringent tax havens, I don't know that I would be able to assist, but I do know that there are attorneys and on-the-ground investigative agencies in those geographic regions that can do the work. There are legal techniques using an Anton Pillar order where you would get the bank to disclose the information as to whether or not the individual has assets there. And I should back up by saying, going through the domestic financial records, you see wire transfers going to the Bank of Jersey Island. And then now that you have a bank, you have an account number, you can notice the bank to disclose documents as to whether or not the fraudster has an account there. Once that's done, you can either approach the bank through legal channels or through investigative channels, and I've worked with investigative firms that are local to the UK who are then able to obtain records. And once you obtain the records, the process continues. It's iterative. You get records, you trace the money to other banks, you get more records, you trace the money to yet other banks. And at some point the music stops and you find out where the money is. When you're working with the government, there's what I like to call a little bit of magic, and that's called a subpoena. So when you find out that through looking at wire transfer records, that if you're looking at the Bank of America account and you see that there are transfers going to Hudson Valley Bank, a subpoena is all it takes, and magically within a week or two, boxes and boxes of documents show up at your door. So that really facilitates the matter.
Any other ways you use technology to help you locate or find these assets?
Technology to locate the assets. Again, going back to databases, going back to internet searches, you can find out about DBAs. LexisNexis is an incredibly powerful tool in that regard as well. Also, LexisNexis can tell you if your suspect has received any inheritances, has won any judgments from others, so that's another way to identify and quantify what's in their wallet. Looking at a tax return can give you information about dividends and interest. That's coming right off Schedule B. Schedule D shows security holdings. You can ask for a tax return, but chances are you won't get it. But you could ask a spouse, or better yet, an ex-spouse, a former spouse, a business partner, or better yet, a former business partner, someone with an axe to grind. There's nothing wrong with appealing to someone's self-interest. And then going through the tax return, if you know your way around it, then you will have indicia of other assets that may be generating income. If the fraudster is showing rental income on their return, that means that they own rental property. Do a search perhaps on that location, on that address, find out who owns that address. You've now created a linkage between some formerly unrelated party and your fraudster. Well, if they own that rental property on behalf of the fraudster, maybe they own other assets as well.